So we're in London at the headquarters of Ovum. I'm here with Dario Talmesio. He's the 5G expert at Ovum. Dario, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Ray. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. I'm ready for Barcelona. I managed to book some accommodation this year, so I won't be sleeping on that park bench again. Okay. So my expectations are high. What are your expectations? Because obviously 5G is the kind of the overarching topic that everybody's talking about. But, you know, talk to 5 different people in this industry and they will give you 5 different views of where we are with 5G. So what's your view? What's the state of 5G in terms of the industry at the moment?
Right, so we also look forward to MWC 19, especially regarding 5G. Where is the industry in 5G terms? I think 19 is a year of preparation on the ground. So the 5G is leaving the slides, it's really getting into the ground. We're going to see devices, we're going to see networks, we're going to see services. One of the question marks that we have is not necessarily about what happens in the announcement around MWC, but it's also the same month where operators are updating their Capex outlook. So during MWC, there will be an underlining story, which is, okay, fine, you're launching 5G this year, soft launch. The real year is going to be 2020. And of course, we know that by 2023, roughly 15% of the market is going to be 5G in terms of devices, excluding the IoT part of the business. But how much CapEx are you going to put into it? Are you upgrading your CapEx guidance or are you not? And that is a reflection of what operators really think about what 5G does to them and for their business. Are you really expecting 5G to increase your top line? And as a result of it, how much are you going to put into it? Now, related to that, there's obviously the typical hype cycle of new technologies or anything really. I think we are at the peak of the hype. When we start seeing what these devices look like, what these networks' performance look like in real world scenarios, then it's probably we will see some operators thinking or saying a bit more loudly, actually, we need to do some more work around it. There are some really important features of 5G that you either have it or you don't have it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of features you need to put in place. Yeah. Lots of pieces of the puzzle we talk about.
Yeah, many. And the most important ones, we go a bit in circle here, but even in the simplest of all the services of 5G, let's take eMBB for consumer, are you actually going to guarantee a certain level of low latency to end users? This is a question to our operators, and we are helping some of our customers identifying how to package it. And believe me, it's even with the imagination of hundreds of marketeers from many operators, it's not that easy. There are certain services or certain capabilities that can be monetized, but it's not that easy.
Okay. Do you think operators will be talking about these aspects at MWC in public, or will it be in private meetings?
Normally in private meetings we talk a lot more than we hear in public. In public, it's still
change
interesting.
The world.
We are still, but it is true. 5G is changing the world eventually one day. But in terms of public announcement, we see the goalpost keeps moving. So what is coming now, the eMBB side of the business, is what needs to be detailed. What is coming in a few years' time makes the headlines. So it's in a way it's a bit easier. We don't want to kill the hype, of course, but it's important to understand what is happening in the next in the next planning, essentially. What are you doing next year? What are you doing in 3 years' time?
Right. So, and to come back to your first point then, the headlines will be made in a few years once more pieces of the 5G puzzle have been put in place. That will require investment. Do you expect to see Capex forecasts show any increases in terms of the percentage of revenues put towards Capex?
So far, we have seen some spikes, but very, very occasional spikes for some operators in terms of the percentage of Capex to revenue that they put towards networks. And networks is everything. It includes IT. It's not just 5G.
Yeah, but not including the spectrum.
Yeah, not including the spectrum. Is this, an overarching trend for all operators? No, so far it's not. So we need to see to what extent operators are willing to make a bit of a leap of faith here, because as per many new technologies, there is a little bit of chicken and egg situation. You can't you're not sure you're going to monetize it, therefore you don't put the investment. But if you don't put the investment, you're not going to get the features that will help you monetizing it. So at some point, somebody needs to put a stick in the ground and say, I do believe in this business, and not just during the conference keynote. I believe in this business for real, and I go for it.
Yeah, and also particularly at a time when there's a little bit of apprehension about macroeconomics, but also about some of the stability of the global communications industry, related to the US-Chinese trade talks, and then the way that some of the Chinese vendors, Huawei in particular, and of course ZTE as well, how they've become embroiled in some of that for various reasons. What kind of impact is the uncertainty about the future role of Huawei and ZTE in the global deployments? How do you think that might impact the market in general?
Uncertainty, it never is good for business, especially when you're...
It's good for our business, surely.
Especially when you're...
Not for anybody else.
When you need to plan long term.
Yeah.
Good thinking. But especially for telecom operators, this kind of uncertainty is particularly bad. Now, without getting into the political discussion or reasoning, if we have talked to some of our clients and they really have a huge question mark here, is we have plans, we know Huawei, we tested the equipment, we like them.
Yeah.
In fact, some of our big clients told us they are the best in town in terms of their equipment. Can we go ahead, and I'm talking especially about the Western markets that are still sitting on the fence.
Yeah.
Are we favoring or disfavoring? So the result, as you saw from last week, Vodafone, the result is, okay, we're not taking any decision here, but we need to put things on hold. Now that is probably the worst outcome from a business point of view, when you put things on hold. And I hope and we hope that not too many operators will be putting their 5G plans on hold as a result of this geopolitical turmoil.
Absolutely. I'm sure we'll see very little of that. Do you think anybody might actually say, we're going to sit and not do anything for like 6, 9, 12 months and wait and see how things pan out? Do you think that might actually happen?
That is the worst outcome, but it might actually happen for some operators.
Right.
And funny, you mentioned probably the cheapest and the most advanced of vendors. If you want to have
it's a compelling combination.
It is an unfortunate combination of putting uncertainty around the affordable, but also the most advanced one. So it doesn't help the business. It doesn't help the fact that the monetization patterns are a bit cloudy.
Yeah.
So far.
Pun intended.
Pun intended. And it doesn't help the fact that obviously the macroeconomic outlook is slightly uncertain at the moment, especially for what concerns the technology business.
Yeah. Well, there'll be no shortage of topics of conversation leading up to Barcelona, during the event and afterwards, and look forward to catching up with you after MWC and finding out what you saw and found out there.
We'll certainly catch up.
Dario, thanks very much.
Nice to see you.